Yo, it's Nolan here. I just finished watching the Backroom movie yesterday, and it wasn't what I really expected. The movie was quite interesting to me, to say the least. I actually had skepticism over this movie, and even before watching it, I'm not really a fan of Kane's Pixels work, nor do I ever watch most of his stuff. I did see a pinch of his vision from one of his clips on YouTube before. Disclaimer, this will be my first movie review. Things spoken about in this video are based on my artistic perspective and personal review. Also, spoiler warning because I find it hard to keep things vague. First thing first, I have doubts when this movie first came out because I don't like how the internet made everything horrible by ruining it. 3 years ago, I didn't like how the backrooms came out to form into another fandom, which became another equivalent of SCP Foundation. How simple thing like the backroom creepypasta evolve into thing that has a lot of going on, where there are a lot of lores added on it, especially the concept of entities or monsters, the levels, and the world building. Originally, everyone knew that the backroom came from a 4chan post. It is one of the pillars that set the liminal space genre of landscapes. Back then, other liminal spaces like the neighborhoods, the malls, and the pools are not really intertwined to the backroom before it got expanded into what it is now. You see the same empty yellow walls as you keep walking to the point it drives you crazy. And that's how it started. It's simple and it's what makes the backroom perfect as it is. You don't need to have entities or monsters to make something scary. The psychological dread of the fact that you're actually alone in this seemingly endless loop of empty maze all by yourself is all I believe is needed. The sense of dread and discomfort that something might be out there coming after you is excruciatingly haunting, because it was a part of human survival instinct to make up the possibility that something or someone is out there coming to hurt you when there's actually no one and nothing at all. Which is where fear plays the most important part, that we humans sometimes conjure fear or problems out of imagination to defend ourselves, as the anxiety slowly gnaws at one's sanity from pieces to an inevitable madness as you live all trapped by yourself. Somehow it is both gruesome and both comforting that this place in some way could give you some sort of peace of the quiet stillness. Yet it still leaves you in fear because those intrusive thoughts emerges and it eats you alive. What if there is actually someone or something out there? Am I truly all alone? Or is it just me? After all, the humans' worst enemies were themselves and their own minds when they're left all alone in the darkness of the unknown. Okay, in this movie, I wanted to address that there are the entities, the scientists, and other rooms as they go deeper into the back room. Can I call them as levels? I don't like the terms level like some sort of video games. At the start, it was the 90s, the plot introduced a guy named Clark, a furniture store owner who was struggling with his businesses and who went through a divorce. He got kicked out of the house by his wife and eventually lived in his own furniture store. The intro of the movie shows the classic unseen footage of a scientist in the back room. Then later, there's a scene where Clark talked to a therapist named Mary. This is where the setting starts to show. We learn that Clark went through a divorce. In the session, he shown a significant problem where he lashed out during the exercises. And there were some scenes showing Mary's childhood and the scene of her home destruction in her dream. It could be speculated why she became a therapist, probably because of her mother. Throughout the movie, it does make me sleepy a little. The pacing is kind of long, but yet it still intrigues me for an hour, 50 minutes movie. Clark then filmed for an ad for his store, dressed himself as a pirate, and then another two characters shows up, which were his assistant manager Kat, and I guess the cameraman Bobby. The ad film ended when the chair breaks. Then there's an electrical issue. He went down with his electrician in the basement of the store to see there's two electric buttons attached to panels, as if they're popped out of nowhere, like a glitch in the world. Or it was built there long before, who knows. When he pressed it, the reds are back apparently as told by Kat, but nothing, assuming they're not actually connected to the store. The start of the story builds up where at night Clark stayed at the store. There's a problem with the signal, his TV messes up, so he went to the basement and found a light that came out from behind one of the walls. Curious, he reaches out and shockingly, he can pass through the wall, to well all of us known as the backroom. What everyone came here to sit for. Throughout the backroom, a radio plays in various languages from a cardboard cutout of a man. As he goes deeper, Clark notices some things that are clipped through the floor, then found Naren's badges, a researcher from the prologue. He came across an entity and ran from it. Fortunately enough, he made his way to his store's basement. Apparently, in the back room, there's a security camera from Research Institute, and a scientist named Phil witnesses Clark's in the back room. The next day, he went to his therapist Mary to talk about his discovery, and that it was some sort of hidden passages beneath his store. She thought he was insane or that he was intoxicated, but he's not. He looked crazy nevertheless. He even shown the blueprint of what looked like a map drawn by him. Clark swears to return with proof. He then goes to find his assistant manager and cameraman to gather his findings. 3 of them gathered together at the store basement with recording equipment, and Clark brought a rope. The 2 were finding it ridiculous how insane Clark sounds when he is about to show that he is going to get through the wall. The scene was shot through a lost footage style. The camera pans to the wall marked with blue tapes around it. To the shock Clark did went through, Kate was appalled and thought that the 2 was on drug when they eventually followed Clark into the back room. In the back room, they found a steep and deep spaces. Clark, for some reason, was planning to figure out, investigate what was down there, hence why he has a rope. And the cameraman, Bobby, agreed somehow. He was tied to and then lowered down there. I'm telling you, that was such a bad idea. This is such a classic horror trope where people make dumb decisions in the movie. The classic curiosity killed the cat. Literally. I guess it doesn't count in this context because they're just curious. Bobby then sees a pile of discarded clothing and bunches of trashes in the dark spaces. He sees flickering light from a room. He tried to go further but can't due to the length of the rope. Everything goes downhill from there when he hears an ominous screech. Bobby ran and screams, tugging at the rope for Clark and Kate to pull him up. He got pulled up, relieving, but it's not. The rope was still tied to his body, and the entity immediately pulled him back down by the rope, which led all 3 of them got pulled down and separated in result. We can see blood on the floor where Bobby got dragged by. He is clearly dead. Kat tries to go after him. There's a montages of footage as Clark runs through the maze of the back room. He entered a room with a lit Christmas tree in the middle. It was quiet except for the music box placed in the background. Some mannequin-like figures seen clipped through the flooring, like those common video game glitches. He goes around and sees a puppet. It lit up a light, then a puppet of women ran towards him. When I went through Google, apparently these things are known as still life. As Clark ran off, Clark finds himself in a pool room. He heard Kate's voice. He puts down Bobby's camera that he holds. He couldn't see her from his end, but Kate could for some reason. Okay, at this scene, I thought and assumed that Kate was actually an entity for some reason. That she was actually an entity that was trying to lure him. Yeah, I've seen some other movies. As Clark went to the walls trying to figure where Kate is, something picked up the camera where Clark left it. It was clear that the being was tall, and something was towering over him. Kate shouts that something is behind him. The footage cuts to black. Then we see Mary. She received messages from Clark. I don't know how he could possess a way to communicate in the back room, but somehow he did. Maybe he found a device or somewhere in there. Clark says that he is never coming back. Eerie. On the other hand, the researcher known as Phil saw the commercial for Clark's store on the TV while he was at home with his family and recognized Clark. Curious and concerned, Mary went to the store herself to look for him. She went down to the basement and ended up in the back room. She finds creepy drawing before Clark shows up, and something was out there coming for them. He tells her to stay still and later knocks her out of breath. Mary wakes up finding herself tied to a chair on what seems to be a dining room set up by Clark with the still life puppets from the chase prison around them, sitting and standing like inanimate objects. Clark told her that everything in the back room is things or people that it remembered, describing them as improvement of the original. It also revealed that you could eat them. Grossly, he cuts out a belly of the still life that looks like cotton and put it on her plate. He opened the fridge. Kate's head was shown inside. At this point, they all agreed Clark has lost his mind. Mary insists that she can still help him and will do anything. He severed the red still life woman's skull and put the hair on Mary to redo his marriage roleplay from the therapy session. Mary did, but eventually stops and refuses, crashing out on him to tell him the truth, that the reason his wife left him is because he was whiny, and that he blames everything when it's his fault. Drink too much, he blamed his job. He hates his job, he blames the world. He gets kicked out of the house, he blames his wife. He's crazy, then he blames his brain. All of that bring him to a sort of relief and a hit with reality of what actually is. That all of it is actually his fault. The truth is his revelation. It is just the way he is wired. He asks on how to stop it, but even Mary herself is not able to and didn't know what to do no matter how much she tried as his therapist. He finally came to terms with the truth. Even Mary came to her own term that she herself couldn't save anyone. Frank confessed he doesn't even want to change and accepted what he is. He even liked it in the back room, and that for the first time, he felt like he belonged. Mary managed to convince Clark to let her go and untie her until the red-haired woman's still life ran off for some reason. A tall entity resembling Clark in a pirate costume appeared from the dark room. Clark is trying to speak to the entity as if it was a part of him, like a friend. This scene plays another sort of way from my point of view, in which this figure somehow embodies his dark psychological side and that he was trying to appeal and come to terms with his own demon. But the entity bites down into Clark's neck, killing him in result. Mary runs off, then finds herself in a neighborhood within the back room that looks out of place. I have to say that I really like the music used in this chase scene. The angle, though it is dizzying in this movie, I believe was used right in here. How it definitely gives the feelings of discomfort, and I was rooting for Mary to run the whole time. The chase scene starts. The distance of where the entity drags Clark's dead body on the gravel ground was creepy, nevertheless. Mary ran to the door at the edge. Finding it locked, she ran into the door from one of the house. We can feel the panic of her in the chase scene while the growl of the entity from distance follows her through the chase. She hits her leg during the run and was limping throughout the chase, adding another suspense. The whole chase scene did brings up uneasiness to me and got my eyes locked the whole time. Mary now was at the ledge. This specific scene reminds me of the liminal spaces of the hotel atrium from liminal spaces that I remember seeing on the internet. She looked down into the void and how deep it is. At this point onward, I thought the entity might slip down into the void, killing itself. There's a concrete stair connected to the ledge into an attic door above the ceiling. The whole area gives me anxiety because I'm afraid of hate. It plays well in conveying phobia to even someone like me. She crawled up the narrow stairs and I was scared they might follow because there's no support beneath it. I was thinking, what if she falls to the void and her death? I feel like something heavy will break the concrete stairs. After running through various spaces, Mary finds herself at a place resembling the store. She looks for a way out. The eerie music plays. Sounds of the radio speaking other languages plays again. The lights flickering and the tall entity emerges behind her. Mary backs away, accidentally stumbling back against a coat hanger. She grabs it as a weapon, hitting the entity's pirate leg, leaving it limping down on the floor. Mary accidentally stumbles against the cutout board, falling down on the floor, which led to an alarm being set off where various gases were deployed all around them. Almost passing out on the floor, the entity calls to her weakly, but she hits its face with a rock from her childhood. She ran into a narrow gap where the entity couldn't reach her. There she watches the entity pathetically tries to reach out for her as it wills. She slipped after the light from the other end to the back. There she falls unconscious to the ground and found by the scientists in hazmat suits. Mary then brought into the interrogation by one of the researchers from the beginning, Phil, at the foundation, or known as a SINGS. Originally, the research institute is known as an MRI machine company before they found the backroom. He is trying to understand it and map it out, but exploring it further, trying to understand it seems to create more confusion. Like Mary said herself, it's like describing a dog to someone who's never seen a dog, then asking it to draw it. Phil insists on wanting to know what she had seen. He focuses more on getting more information through her to write everything down for his research. And it seems like Mary is not going to go home anytime soon. His voice blurs out into the background as Mary smiles to herself with eerie music slowly plays in distance. The end scene fades into rubble with a house building address for Mary's memories. From the rubble of her house destruction, an oddly constructed living room, the bathroom, copies of her published therapist books, the missing posters of Kate and Bobby at the electrical post, to the Clark's furniture storefront, now existed in the back room. Everything seems to be recreated and remembered, not just from memories, but from what is happening or what was there in the real world. The scenes end with a still life of Mary, sitting there quietly and creepily inanimate. Her face seemingly was split into two, like trying to duplicate itself but still attached to it. And it is out of place. While the buzzing sounds fill the quietness in the background, conveys how empty it is. Can I say the backroom movie is bad? But I did enjoy watching the chase scenes, but did it make me sleepy? A little, but it still intrigues me. This movie is an okay sci-fi for me. It's still good how Kane Pixel made the movie entertaining in a way and executed well enough to not make a literal backroom seems boring. I watched this movie forgetting about the stuff I hated about the backroom fandom back in the day, and I forgot the existence of the entities. This movie did brought up a lot of questions to me. What is that? What is gonna happen next? How did it happen? Etc. The movie was thought-provoking. There's an ambiguity in the ending that leaves the viewers to wonder. I guess it was because of how many questions there is about everything is what makes it great. It was the mystery of it. I guess we can separate the original backroom or the fandom because this is Kane's Pixel's work and they should be separated. He literally started his own canon inspired by the infamous internet meme. Personally, I thought this movie is perfect how it is. Though I have to say that there are questionable camera angles, so I'm kind of off used to it and considered maybe his own style of direction. Some people are bothered about them though, like it is dizzying. Though people complain a lot about how boring the backroom movie is, I see it as a psychological movie from my point of view and not as a horror movie. People complain about how long the pacing is. It is long but still adjustable. I consider it adequate. They complain about how boring the movie is, but personally I hated it because I hated how Backroom was ruined by the internet. And I hated the whole expansion of something that is already so perfectly simple. So we're different. Did the movie change my perspective? Maybe. Though I still hated the internet Backroom, how everything was added too much. I wonder what's going to happen after this movie. Though I have a bad feeling if they will make a sequel because a lot of questions on the first one is what makes it interesting, I believe. Yeah, the movie is interesting to me. The rating of the movie I gave is 8 out of 10. That is because I'm not that good at rating, but I'm just putting out how I feel about it. I guess this just feels not right. Yeah, that's all for me. I guess that's how I feel about it. Bye bye.